Are you tired, puffy around the middle, and living on coffee and willpower? If so, chances are you don't have a calorie problem, you have a protein problem. Today, we're going to talk about one of the unsung heroes of the health industry, protein. Let's get ready. Take a deep breath with me for a moment. In through the nose, and a long exhale out through the mouth. Let your shoulders drop. Today, we're going to talk about, actually, before we dive deeper, if you're interested in this kind of gentle science meets TCM conversation about your metabolism and inflammation, would you please click like and subscribe so that you'll get more information like this? And also, it really helps this kind of information reach more people who are feeling exactly like you are. And it lets YouTube know this is the kind of calm, compassionate health content that you want to see more of. So many symptoms for both women and men are blamed on hormones or aging or stress or some mystery illness, and they're actually made worse by chronic protein insufficiency. So by the end of our time together today, you'll know what protein actually does in your body, how much you likely need, because it's not the same for everyone, how that shifts depending on your metabolic type, and what I mean by your Goldilocks zone for protein, and how all of this fits inside my Decode Your Dolphin framework. If you're live, tell me in the chat, do you think you're more of the insulin-resistant walrus type or the hypothyroid sea turtle type? Or you can just tell me, I have no idea, I just feel tired. So let's talk about what protein really does. Let's out. Most adults are eating roughly 30 to 6 grams of protein a day. But metabolically active adults often need more, like 90 to 140 grams a day, depending upon their body size and activity. That gap is where a lot of symptoms live. Think of your body as a house that's always under renovation. Carbohydrates are the electricity, fats are the insulation, and protein are the bricks and the repair crew. You can't fix a sagging roof with more electricity. You need building materials. You can't fix protein insufficiency with more carbohydrates. From a functional medicine perspective, protein is involved in detoxification pathways, methylation, immune regulation, blood sugar balance, hormone and neurotransmitter production. And from a TCM perspective, protein-rich foods tonify qi, nourish blood, strengthen kidney essence, and support your spleen so that you can actually extract energy from food instead of making more dampness. I see this from time to time in clinic. People will be eating really fantastic food, high quality. They'll come to me and they're taking high quality supplements, but they're just not getting the energy from their nutrients. And that happens because their spleen is weak from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, and they can eat the best food in the world, but they won't be able to absorb it very well. And the reason that we want to use that TCM framework is because that allows us to get to very specific nutrients and herbs and even lifestyle activities that tell us how to rebuild and repair that. If you're new to my work, I use something called the Decode Your Dolphin framework. It's a 3-month metabolic reset that blends fats, functional medicine, and traditional Chinese medicine and maps your metabolism to one of 7 archetypes. The walrus is the insulin-resistant guy, and he's metabolic syndrome. Then we have the sea turtle, that's hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. Octopus. The octopus is under chronic stress. So these are often my caregivers or people who are going through chronic stress times in their lives. And it's hitting their hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, otherwise known as the HPA axis. Then we have the manatee. The manatee is often subclinical. So all of these are determined by labs, but the manatee's labs are going to look the best. However, the manatee still has spleen chi deficiency with dampness, and if he doesn't resolve the underlying pathways, he will wind up in some of these more profound metabolic types over time. Next, we have the silky shark. This is the liver, the damp heat. This is the person with liver toxicity that needs some assistance detoxifying. Then there's the pufferfish that has kind of everything going on. They've got hormone imbalance. They've got some silky shark, and they've got some kidney yin and yang deficiency, which brings us to our next type, which is the blue whale. And this is the one that's the aging metabolism. Each archetype has a lab pattern that's determined by blood sugar, lipids, thyroid, stress hormones, and digestion, and a TCM pattern like spleen chi deficiency or kidney yang deficiency or liver chi stagnation, and a metabolic personality, how your body tends to gain weight, crash, or protect you. Protein is one of the levers that looks different in each archetype. So I want you to hear me, and please understand it's different depending on where you are, what phase you're in. So, for example, the walrus type with insulin resistance and dopamine drag, he usually needs more protein and muscle to reverse damp heat and cravings. So, that could be a good candidate for intermittent fasting or keto. But sea turtles with their slow thyroid and cold hands and feet need warming, steady protein to feed spleen and kidney without undereating or over fasting. So while intermittent fasting might be great for a sea turtle, for a walrus, it's going to work against the sea turtle. So when I talked about finding your protein Goldilocks zone, I'm really talking about decoding your dolphin. And your dolphin is our symbol of your perfect metabolic synergy, where you're living a life in coherence. You feel fantastic. You've got warmth resonating from your heart out to your many different beautiful relationships. So you've got a good pod. You feel great. You make great decisions. You act quickly to do the right thing. This is all of our dolphin energy. Knowing which sea creature your metabolism is acting like, and then feeding it accordingly. So all of these other ones are phases. Now let's talk about 12 sneak attack symptoms of low protein. The reason that I say that protein is this unsung hero is because low protein is responsible for so many different symptoms that people come to see me for. Our gut microbiome changes to adapt to whatever kinds of food that we're eating. So, for example, if you're starting your day with a big hunk of bread, delicious as it might be, you're going to tend to crave more bread or sugar throughout the day, especially whatever you eat first. You're going to tend to lean towards. So let's talk about sugar cravings. When protein is low, you get blood sugar swings and dopamine drops, and your brain pushes you towards quick sugar. Adequate protein, especially at breakfast, often reduces evening cravings. So if you're one of these people that doesn't eat much food during the day and then you binge on junk food at night, then look to protein at breakfast to correct that. Calms binge cycles. Protein at breakfast does this, and it improves satiety, which is the feeling of fullness. If you're trying to quit sugar and failing, don't start with less sugar. I know that's counterintuitive, but start instead with more protein at breakfast and let that drive you. It tends to not be very effective to come from a place of depraving ourselves over time, what tends to work much better for us is to give ourselves what we really need. And then we're going to tend to want the other stuff less. Now, you can adapt yourself. You can make these changes. You can eat your protein for breakfast and go, okay, now I deserve my creme brulee post breakfast dessert. And you will gain weight. But it won't be from a protein deficient place. It will be from a truly gluttonous place. And most of us, when we're full, we're full. We're not out looking for a bunch more stuff. If you are, then just observe yourself and, kind of do some exploration about what might be driving that kind of craving. For me, at one point, I was having cravings for an unusual drink for me. I had always liked matcha tea, the traditional way that it's made, because it's the tea used in the Japanese tea ceremony. And I really just enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the process. But I was getting these cravings for the Starbucks matcha, which of course has all this like milk and sugar in it that isn't even like how I usually like my matcha, right? And I just decided, okay, I'm just going to observe myself. And I realized that I would get a craving for a Starbucks matcha latte anytime I wanted to talk to my mom. So milk comes from our mothers originally, right? So mother's milk, and then the sweetness, the love, the nourishment, that would be the craving that I get. And once I understood that, then I could deal with it in a way that truly nourished me, because it wasn't really the Starbucks matcha latte that I wanted. It was really to connect to that mother love. So I had a very different approach from that point on. And I appreciated decoding myself, even though I didn't have that language then, decoding my dolphin and understanding what my dolphin self was really searching for. Okay, so don't focus on the sugar, focus on the protein. If you are a walrus, an insulin resistant walrus, this is huge, because walrus types already struggle with insulin resistance and dopamine disruption. Here's what dopamine disruption feels like. I don't wanna. Dopamine is the get up and go, the get her done vibe. Thank God this is, this is what a lot of us Americans run on, is this like rah, get it done. When you are depleted in dopamine, one of the things that I often see with my clients is that they get hard on themselves. They think that they are lazy, especially if this is happening over time. And they beat themselves up. And by the way, beating yourself up depletes your dopamine more. So this is a place where it's really timely to dig deep into compassion and to look at ourselves with love and patience, so that we can see clearly. Because if we're beating ourselves up, we're not going to pick up on the story. We're not going to notice, oh, I have not felt like doing this, even though I'm exercising and I've got a good system. I have not felt like doing this. So maybe it's in my diet. Or maybe I need to give myself some more atta-girls or atta-boys and really start building some positive reinforcement. There are times, so I'm an ultra endurance athlete, and there are times when I'm doing an Ironman and I'm on the marathon. So it's a 2.4 mile swim followed by a 112 mile bike ride, followed by a marathon, which is a 26.2 mile run. And my weakest sport has always been running. So here I am plucking through this marathon at the end of all this other physical activity. And there are times when I will give myself an atta girl every 1/10 of a mile. I'll tell you what doesn't work. What does not work is it is constantly telling myself I've got so much more to do. I'm not doing well enough. Athletes that do that will quit their race, even if they're well ahead, even if everything otherwise is going well for them, because they're so hard on themselves. So dopamine disruption, stabilizing breakfast protein, is one of the fastest wins and one of the best ways to get your dopamine back on track. Let's next talk about afternoon energy crashes. So, low protein meals introduce a rapid glucose blood sugar spike, and that prompts your body to release more insulin, and that causes reactive hypoglycemia, low blood sugar. What this feels like is afternoon crash between 2 and 4 p.m. You're just going to get tired. You'll have brain fog, especially during that time, but even throughout the day. And then my favorite one, irritability, right? We call this hangry. If you notice that you get squiggly before, like, and it gets better when you eat. So maybe you have less patience. Maybe you don't point this out at other people, but you find yourself getting hard on yourself. And that improves with food. Those are all signs of the blood sugar roller coaster. You're on the blood sugar roller coaster. Oh, or you're craving, you're like wanting caffeine and or living on caffeine. If you're having caffeine regularly throughout the day, then you probably have some blood sugar roller coaster. When you add enough protein to lunch, you literally flatten the glucose curve. Less roller coaster, more gentle wave. So protein for breakfast and protein for lunch. Next, I want to talk about one that is often missed. And this has to do with hair loss and slow hair growth. So hair is mostly keratin, which is a protein. When your intake is low, your body prioritizes your organs, your immune system, and your essential hormones. Hair and fingernails are expendable. So we see hair thinning, brittle nails, and slow hair growth. Collagen formation also depends on amino acids like glycine, proline, lysine, and protein. So let's talk for a minute about supplements because, supplements are my world. I love supplements. I absolutely would not be an ultra endurance athlete if not for supplements. And I want to share a very humbling moment with you. I was getting a massage by this wonderful massage therapist. It was so good that I traveled over an hour to get to him. And I live in Sarasota, so like Sarasota, Florida. So nothing is an hour away here. And I'm on his table and we're talking about my race. It was my first Ironman and I was excited and I was really determined. And we were talking about supplements for a moment. And he said, yeah, there's a reason that they're called supplements. he was just nudging me to be aware to make sure that I got the food in first, that the food was the priority and the supplements were intended to be supplemental to that. So while I am a huge advocate of supplements, I use primarily whole food supplements in my clinic because those are absorbed the best and they're the most bioavailable and they have all of the adjacent phytosynergists that we need in order to metabolize those wonderful, wonderful nutrients. But before all of that comes our food. So really, if you're a person that's like on the go and you have difficulty sitting down for a meal, just start examining that. It doesn't take long to actually eat our food for most people. There are some people that are very slow eaters, and I commend you for that because it's very healthy for us. If you're eating your meal within an hour, great. If it's taking 2 hours to get your food in, then we'll probably need to work on some distractibility in there. There's a reason for it, but focus on it through food first. Protein is also connected to our immune system because antibodies are proteins and many immune messengers are protein based. So low protein can help impair antibody production, immune signaling, and infection recovery. That person who catches everything and heals slowly after illness or surgery may simply not have enough amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, on board. From a TCM lens, this looks like weak Wei Qi, which is our immune energy, and blood deficiency. So you can think of Wei Qi as the immunoglobulin A or immunoglobulin E, and blood deficiency it extends not just to someone with full anemia, but someone who's just kind of on the spectrum. And you can tell them, or you can notice this in yourself by their run down, they're pale, and they're slow to bounce back. It's also tied to anxiety and mood instability. So, protein supplies those amino acids used to make neurotransmitters like tryptophan, make serotonin, and that's our feel good neurotransmitter. It's commands our mood and our sleep. Tyrosine, that is a building block for our dopamine transmitter. Like I was saying earlier, that's our motivation, our focus, that get her done energy. And glutamine is the amino acid that's the base for GABA. And GABA is our calm, our grounded, it's our everything is going to be okay. It's our ability to organize, to plan and organize. If you have ever noticed that it's easier to organize in the morning than in the afternoon, then you've noticed that your GABA tends to be more available in the morning than in the afternoon. Low protein can show up as anxiety, irritability, poor stress tolerance, and that wired and tired pattern that we see in the octopus, which is the chronic stress, or the sea turtle, which is the hypothyroid type. Protein is also tied to slow injury recovery. That's our tendons, our ligaments, our cartilage, and muscle all require amino acids to repair. Low protein intake is connected to prolonged tendinitis, slow muscle recovery, and chronic joint and connective tissue complaints. For athletes and weekend warriors, this is a non-negotiable. You have to have protein. Protein is also connected to loss of muscle with age. After about age 40, muscle loss, which is called sarcopenia, accelerates if we don't push back. Without enough protein, metabolism slows and insulin resistance increases, so you're more likely to fall into that walrus phase, and frailty and fall risk rise. Protein plus strength training is one of the strongest anti-aging strategies that we have for walrus bellies and sea turtle fatigue alike. Protein is also tied to poor sleep because it provides that tryptophan, which creates serotonin, and that creates melatonin. And also glycine, which can improve sleep quality and temperature regulation. People who bump protein up, especially earlier in the day, often report deeper, more continuous sleep. In TCM, that's better yin and blood to anchor the shin, which is what regulates our thoughts. It's our spirit. It's what regulates our thoughts. Instead of a mind that pops awake at 2 to 3 a.m., if you've ever had this like monkey mind, like you're trying to go to sleep and you've just got all this stuff running through your head, or you wake up in the middle of the night, like 2 to 3 a.m., and you just got all this stuff running through your head, that is this indication that we've got this yang rising. It's supposed to be nestled, and our shen gets agitated over time. So feeling cold all the time is another symptom of protein deficiency because protein is metabolically active. Chronic low protein can reduce basal metabolic rate, thyroid hormone conversion, and thermogenesis. You'll know you've got this if you've got cold hands and feet, low body temperature, or if you love the Florida warmth, but you're still bundling in sweaters. That's very sea turtle hypothyroid. Next, this is probably the one that people remember when we talk about it, which is difficulty losing weight. Protein supports weight loss in 3 powerful ways. It increases the satiety hormones. And by the way, that's what GLP-1 is. And it preserves muscle mass, which is your metabolic engine. So muscle burns fat, and it has a higher thermic effect. 20 to 30% of protein calories are burned just digesting it versus about 5% for carbs. This is why people with insulin resistance like walruses or chronic inflammation like octopuses or pufferfish often improve dramatically when they increase protein before they cut carbs. Next is weak skin and poor collagen because collagen requires glycine and proline and lysine. And when protein is low, we see more wrinkles, fragile skin, and slower wound healing. From a TCM angle, that's weak blood and essence. The tissues aren't being nourished and repaired. Next, we have brain fog. Amino acids, those building blocks of protein, are required for neurotransmitters, mitochondrial enzymes, and detox pathways in the brain. Low protein diets can worsen brain fog, poor focus, and low motivation. That classic walrus, insulin imbalance, dial up internet energy. So, functional medicine and TCM archetypes, let's weave this together. The functional medicine view is that protein supports detoxification, methylation, immune regulation, blood sugar stability, hormone production, and mitochondrial function. When we design protocols like herbs and supplements and even GLP-1s, but the protein foundation is missing, results are limited or short-lived. The TCM, traditional Chinese medicine view, is that protein-rich foods, especially when warm and cooked, so sushi is right out. Sushi is also the biggest parasite vector, tend to tonify qi, nourish blood, and strengthen kidney essence, and also support the spleen to transform food into usable energy, we call qi, instead of dampness. By the way, the word qi can be translated to oxygen. That's one way that we categorize qi. Low protein often looks like spleen qi deficiency, like fatigue, loose stools, or poor muscle tone. Kidney yang deficiency, like cold or puffy or low resilience, or damp and phlegm, that's heaviness or fog or midsection weight. Now let's place these two inside two you see most, walrus and sea turtle. Let's look at insulin resistance in the walrus. So it's going to be that blood sugar imbalance and dopamine drag. Walrus labs show insulin resistance, higher triglycerides, waist gain, and the TCM pattern is going to be spleen qi deficiency with damp in the middle burner plus dopamine disruption. For walrus women, protein calms blood sugar and insulin. It feeds dopamine, so motion returns. That's for both women and men. And also for both women and men, it helps clear damp heat by building muscle, not just starving calories. So if you want to build muscle, eat protein. The sea turtle, which is our hypothyroid, GLP-1 sensitive type, this is spleen qi and kidney yang deficiency, slow motility. They're cold, they're puffy. Must avoid under eating protein, especially in women trying GLP-1 drugs. Otherwise, we worsen muscle loss, thyroid conversion, and spleen and kidney weakness. It applies for men too. It's just even more pronounced for women because women have percentage-wise less muscle in our body than men do because women have those beautiful curves in our breasts and on our hips. And gentlemen are more, they're more like a sports car. You know, women are more like the sedans, the comfortable sedans. So let's talk about your Goldilocks zone here. A simple researched aligned starting point is you're looking at between 1/2 to 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. That's pretty much everyone, unless you have chronic kidney disease, unless your kidneys are taxed. If your kidneys are depleted, or if you've just recently had surgery or you're about to have surgery on your kidneys, you're going to need to carve that down for a time. That doesn't mean forever. That just means give your kidneys time to sort themselves before you start hitting them hard with a lot of protein. So if you're a bodybuilder that's having to go through kidney surgery, then just be compassionate with yourself. Take a little bit of time, eat cooked, nourishing foods, but definitely decrease that protein during that time. So usually we're going to say, 1/2 to 1 gram of protein. So if you're 140 pounds, then you're looking at between 90 to 120 grams per day. Also, if you weigh significantly more, if you're closer to 300 pounds, then you're going to want to limit this. You're not going to do the equation. You're going to cut it off at about 120, maybe 140, because your kidneys are still your kidneys and they can only process so much. So just aim for your ideal body weight and then divide that, use that as your benchmark. So if 140 is your ideal is your ideal body weight and you're in the 300 pounds, you're going to max out at about 140 grams of protein. You're not going to go up to 150. In fact, you're probably going to be more like 100 to 120. So walrus is going to be a little bit higher. Its high protein is going to be, 0.8 to 1 times your body weight. The sea turtle is usually going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be more like half to up to 0.7, maybe 0.8. But the sea turtle really, really, really needs to make sure that they're staying in the warm cooked foods. So protein has a Goldilocks zone. Too little and your body steals from muscle, hair hormones, and immune function, and you feel tired, foggy, cold, and puffy. And too much in the body at the wrong time, or meals that have too much protein at once, especially if digestion is weak or kidneys are compromised, can feel heavy and can create more dampness in TCM terms, or just overwhelm your system instead of helping it. So we're not chasing extremes. We're looking for your just right zone based on your body size and activity, your labs, which are blood sugar, lipids, thyroid, and kidney function, and your archetype, whether you're in the walrus insulin resistance phase and whether you're in the sea turtle hypothyroid phase, whether you're in that manatee, it's probably your iron markers that we're going to see the most, or you're in the blue whale phase, which is the aging phase. All of these change that specific metric for you. Also, please know that GLP-1 drugs can push people out of their Goldilocks zone by suppressing appetite. So you really need to prioritize your protein if you're on a GLP-1 or if you've had the gastric bypass surgery. You've just got to really prioritize that protein. So the question isn't how high can I push protein? It's what amount and what form of protein lets my body feel warm, strong, and clear without bloat, heaviness, or strain. And by the way, if you feel extra full when you eat protein, like you feel bloated, you don't feel like it's getting metabolized properly, there's a couple of things that you can try first. One is apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is naturally increases the amount of stomach acid in your belly. And for some people, that's enough. For others, it's not. And then we move into supplements. Something else you can try if you're compatible with it is kiwi. Kiwi actually has enzymes that help your body metabolize protein. So if you're eating a lot of protein, you may consider adding in a kiwi a day in order to help metabolize it. So the TCM story, the traditional Chinese medicine story here, is that we're warming kidney yang, strengthening spleen, and clearing damp using protein as medicine, not just macros. So here's, good. We have some options for you here on the power breakfast and the metabolic lunch and the recovery dinner and the snack logic. So a power breakfast might be 3 to 4 eggs with smoked salmon or gluten-free oatmeal with protein powder and chia seeds. Aim for 30 grams of protein in order to help stabilize your blood sugar throughout the day. The metabolic lunch, you're going to choose grilled chicken or tempeh served over sauteed bitter greens. This combination supports digestion and aligns with TCM nutritional principles. A recovery dinner might be lean steak or white fish with cooked root vegetables. This focused nutrient profile aids digestion and supports recovery before going to sleep. And snacks, replace your carb-heavy snacks with protein-first choices like beef jerky, hard-boiled eggs, or lupini beans in order to keep blood sugar stable throughout the day. So just a little review about the math. Your ratio is going to be 0.5 to 1 grams of protein per pounds of weight. That's going to look like 30 grams of protein for breakfast. It's going to give you that metabolic boost. Water needs to be half your body weight in ounces plus more during your workouts, and you might well need electrolytes even just during the day. Shoot for about 30 grams of fiber. Now that's going to depend upon your weight and also your gender, but that's a benchmark for us. 10,000 daily steps. Your sleep target is about 8 hours, and your efficiency score is about 95%, is what you're shooting for there. So good. Here we have those Goldilocks zones for us. We don't want to be cold and depleted with too little protein. We don't want to cause ourselves digestive and kidney problems with too much protein. All right, so consider taking the 7-day breakfast protein challenge. And that's committing to 30 grams of protein every morning for 7 days to eliminate afternoon energy cravings and to curb sugar cravings. And just notice what happens in your body. Notice what happens to your cravings, your afternoon energy, your mood, and your sleep. That's it. Just data, not drama. Protein isn't a fad, it's the raw material for your muscles, your hormones, your neurotransmitters, your immune cells, and your hair and your skin and your connective tissue. In Western language, it drives detoxification, blood sugar, appetite hormones like GLP-1, and aging. In TCM language, it feeds chi and blood and essence so that your spleen and your kidneys can actually do their job. Most of the men and women I see are not failing at diets. Their diets are failing them because they're built on fear of calories instead of respect for protein. So, your next steps, if you'd like to learn more, are to hit like and subscribe so that you can get more information like this. Check out my other videos and lives. I have a ton of information online. I've been doing this for 15 years and I've been making videos for almost as long. So I think we're up to almost 700 videos now. Please take advantage of that. You can also visit our website at decodeyourdolphin.com, where we have blogs and we have more information about that program. And finally, you can book a complimentary consult. You can do that by calling 941-923-9355 or online at tinyurl.com/decode yes. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm honored to be with you on this journey, and I'm very, very, very happy that you're taking this time to take a moment to look deeply into yourself in order to make yourself stronger and better and to live your life more fully. Thank you very much. I'm Dr. Cynthia Clark. I'm an acupuncture physician. I'm an applied clinical nutritionist. I was an engineer before I got into this line of work. And of course, I'm a multi-time Ironman and ultra endurance athlete. Have a fantastic